Hello, hello guys, it's GirlGotGame. Welcome back to Gilded Shadows. Today we're starting Caleb's sweet ending, and I'm still in the common route because I had a couple of people suggest a couple of different things I should try in the common route just to see if they affect things going forward in the sweet ending. So one of the things I did is I met Maggie, so we've seen that before. It was also suggested that I run away from Caleb. But unfortunately, I picked that option as I was going through just to check and see if anything changed, and that it sped all the way through. So I've seen all the dialogue with that already at some point. I'm not sure which route that was, but when I did fight against your attacker, I had a couple of different things happen. So I have to go back. Where is it? Yeah. So it was about here. And then I was clicking, so I'm like, how far does this go? So I'm like, okay, I need to stop. I need to record this bit. Because it involves Caleb, so we'll do that. Also, I have the opposite personality traits, again, as per usual for the sweet ending. So Morgan is now cautious, flexible, and emotional. And I made sure to not meet Caleb in the common ending first. So, there you go. Oh, actually, that might be why nothing's changed. I'm dumb. That might be why nothing changed when I ran away. Because I didn't actually meet Caleb. I'm good at my job, honestly. I promise. I promise, I'm real good. Anyway, don't try this at home, everybody. So, let's begin here, and then we'll skip forward to other things, other more meaningful changes.
Get in the car. We don't have time for this. Caleb, there's no need to be so forceful with her. We don't have time for this, Ari. I'm forcing her because I was told to force her if she didn't come willingly.
Told by who?
We don't have time to explain right now. Get in the car.
Caleb and Ari? I didn't recognize either name. And the fact they were addressing each other so casually indicated they had absolutely no concerns about me learning their identities either. Let go of me! Okay, are we back? Yeah, we're back. Okay. Cool. So I will bring you guys in a little bit after that small segue, and we'll continue from there. Okay, so we've made it to chapter 1 of Caleb's route, and this is our first escape attempt. Well, I guess not first, but our first conscious escape attempt where we're not half delusional from the Psi thing that we just experienced. So let's see how Morgan reacts to everyone ignoring her this time with a different personality. How odd. They didn't seem extraordinarily busy, so I wasn't sure how they missed that I was standing right there. I continued to observe the room, leaning against the wall as I watched. Maybe I should try to get someone's attention? I had a lot of questions, but I was hesitant to call out or make a fuss. Even if they weren't busy, it wasn't empty either. In fact, it was a lot like a normal hospital. Was I actually at the headquarters or a nearby clinic? Though I was sure Endgame had clinics of its own for treating its agents. It felt like a standard medical facility, though. People were moving from one room to another, handing off displays and tablets, chatting together, passing charts and calling out to each other about test results. One man in particular stood out from the rest, the one I assumed was in charge, at least based on his demeanor. Oh my goodness. You caught this Morgan's attention right from the bat? Go, get out of town. She's like, that guy. He wasn't all that tall and had blonde hair that fell in his eyes. Even from where I stood, I could see the dark circles under them. He was ordering people here and there or talking quietly to others who seemed to be constantly pestering him with questions. Though he didn't have a particularly commanding presence, there was an air of authority around him. Yet even he didn't seem to take any notice of me. I really don't know how long I stood there. At the very least, based on snippets of conversation, I was able to surmise I was at Cor Solaris, in the medical ward. Is she not sneaking out this time? Interesting. She's just kind of observing everything from outside her room. A swirl of conflicting emotions washed over me as I stared at the floor. After so many years of trying to avoid it, I ended up here anyway. I shut my eyes as the unsettling mixture of uncertainty and heavy inevitability threatened to overwhelm. What would happen now? What were the next steps? Everything had changed so fast, and the future I'd been so confident about had slipped beyond my grasp. It all felt inescapably dire and bleak. The door next to me opened, a rush of cold air washing over me. My eyes snapped open just in time to see a familiar dark-haired man disappear in my room. Caleb? He'd notice I was... A split second later, the door slid open again and he burst back into the corridor. With a startled cry, I staggered backwards. Our eyes met. His brows drew together in annoyance and... what do I do? Okay, let me just make sure. Yeah, okay. I need to stay where I am. Okay. I just froze in place, staring at him with wide eyes.
Where the hell did you come from?
I've been right here the whole time.
You were not there when I...
He let out a soft grunt and caught my arm, pulling me back into the room, much more gently than I expected, given his expression. He nudged me towards the bed as he stuck his head back out the door.
Saskia! Get your ass over here!
I craned my neck over my shoulder to see who he was talking to. Saskia, who turned out to be the blonde man I thought was in charge, looked up from where he was standing with two nurses at the other side of the nurses' station. His gaze went from Caleb, then to me peering around Caleb's torso. One eyebrow lifted before he handed a display to the person next to him and started over.
Caleb, I believe I've repeatedly asked you not to bellow at me from across the room. I'm perfectly capable of hearing you speak at a normal tone, as I've mentioned numerous times. Your insistence on being as loud and disruptive as possible is going to get you thrown out of my medical ward. Again. And you, Morgan Leone, I don't believe I've cleared you to get out of bed. Is there any particular reason you're standing near the door to your room? Perhaps another escape attempt?
Another? Hey! When he reached me, he planted a hand in the center of my back and herded me towards the bed.
It's understandable if you can't recall the last one, given your febrile response was quite high at the time, and you were clearly unaware of your surroundings. I'm pleased, at the least, that you're more aware of your situation this time. However, that means you left your bed intentionally, does it not? Check her side, Doc. Oh? That sounded almost like an order. Does the Queen's Rook outrank Chief Medic now? Was there a memo I missed at some point? Get off your high horse and do it. I think she's mimicking Ari's space distortion. And unless I'm misremembering, you said she shouldn't be using Psi.
Saskia, though annoyed, did fish a scanner out of his pocket. He caught my chin in his hand and placed it to my temple. There's too much sass going on in this room, by the way.
And?
He looked at me questioningly.
Are you utilizing your mimicry skills right now, Miss Leone?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't even know how to do something like that.
Hasn't stopped you from doing it before.
I gave him a sour look.
Caleb, if you're going to antagonize my patient, you're welcome to leave. I'm not antagonizing her. I'm speaking the truth. She's mimicked Ari before, whether she intended to or not.
Saskia pulled the scanner away from my head and checked it with a frown.
How unusual. It appears Kale is correct.
He's rolling his eyes again like, I'm correct quite often, and yet everyone is always surprised when it happens.
Though your psi waves are normalizing, there are indications you may have been unconsciously utilizing your abilities. She said she was standing in the hall when I came in her room, but I didn't notice her there.
Actually, I've been in the hall for around 10 minutes and no one noticed me.
That is odd. My staff would be unlikely to fail to notice such an important patient wandering around. And certainly I noticed nothing until Caleb shouted across the room like a trumpeting elephant.
That's a great descriptor.
I'm afraid this is a problem, isn't it? The events prior to your arrival resulted in a severe case of psi fatigue. Brain scans also revealed damage in line with a devastating power surge, likely the event that resulted in the earlier psi burst. Though we were able to repair the minor brain damage...
Brain damage?
Psi energy is controlled and utilized purely by the power of the mind, Miss Leone. All organs related to it are in the brain. What else would you imagine to be damaged by overtaxation to the point of complete exhaustion?
The Fork system. Thank you. I had brain damage?
Minor, and it's been repaired. Nevertheless, your psi has been in a state of flux for the last few days, and to facilitate a full recovery, it's necessary to ensure you discontinue all use of psi for the time being. Difficult when she's doing it unconsciously and psi inhibitors won't work on her.
Wait, how long have I been here exactly?
4 days. Some of which you spent in a medically induced coma since we had no other way to suppress your psi. Looking at your scans, I can see tachycardia, elevated blood pressure, and cortisol levels. Your phoric system also has yet to return to normal. All classic signs of lingering psi fatigue. Hence, you are not to leave bed again.
I didn't even go that far.
Another patient that prefers to argue rather than simply listen to medical advice. How unprecedented for this place.
He sighed and pocketed the scanner, checking the display in his hand again.
I believe a mild sedative will help alleviate some of the anxiety likely fueling the unconscious use of psi. And I'll have someone stay in your room to keep an eye on you.
I don't think that's...
Ah? I wasn't aware of your medical degree. Perhaps you would be interested in joining my division when you fully recover.
Is he always like this?
Yes. Annoying, isn't it?
Seems to be a required trait for joining Endgame.
I resent that remark, thank you very much. I'll have you know I'm quite adorable, and not annoying in the slightest. You are annoying when you enter a patient's room without knocking or obtaining permission. Visiting hours are over. No, they aren't. Stop making up rules on the spot.
Ah, I remember her. It was the woman from the alley, and Ari was with her as well. Dang. Alright, is everybody just like in this room hanging out? This room it must look bigger than it looks on screen.
I suppose now that the entire Queen's Guard is assembled, I shall go order your sedative. There are a few other tests I wish to run as well. The lot of you have 5 minutes, and then you will leave if I have to have Kale throw you out personally. Wait! He gets to stay? That's not...
The doctor was already out the door without waiting for her to finish.
I hate it when he does that.
I had the feeling Vaughn wanted to chat a little, but we didn't really get the chance. As soon as the doctor left, a swarm of nurses poured in. I had all my vitals checked, was given a sedative, and was lectured by literally everyone that came in the room. There was no time for chatting amid the chaos. Eventually, I was lying on my bed starting to doze off to the sound of medical equipment. Caleb and I were finally alone after Vaughn and Ari had been shooed away and all the nurses finally cleared out. Okay, have we caught up? We have! Hey! We're making progress. That was quite the segue, but I really enjoyed it. Hey! Okay, and now my choice from the common root's coming back to bite. For some reason, it didn't hit me until that exact moment that I knew this man! Wait. You! I met you! The day I was... I stopped and glanced quickly towards Caleb and Ari. You know, the day I was kidnapped by those two.
I realize the situation made it seem like such, but I would appreciate if you would stop referring to it that way. It was an apprehension of an unregistered Esper, not a kidnapping. You two met?
So that's why you went gallivanting off to New Albion? Well, it seemed interesting. Then you let her get taken off the street a few minutes later without saying a word to her. I couldn't bring her back personally. Unlike Ari, I can't distort space-time. And the knight I was with would never have gotten the both of us back. I knew there was something weird about you. What? You were acting really strange. You also said your name was Amir Fitzroy.
Sounds like our Maggie.
Are you sure that happened? That sounds fake.
I absolutely do not believe you forgot about that.
I mean, his memory is pretty bad. It truly is.
Also, you owe me a bag of fresh tangerines. Yes. For a brief moment, he just stared at me before breaking into laughter and reaching for a display device. He typed into it briefly.
Oh, Morgan, tangerines. Let me write that down and I'll get someone right on it.
Okay, that's great. That was worth it. I was tempted to call out their insistence on not referring to it that way. Probably kidnapping, but it seemed like an argument I wouldn't win. To my surprise, Caleb did it for me. No, this is different. Interesting.
She probably calls it that because that's what it was, Magnus. We forced her to come with us, against her will. Very much against her will. We can't pretty that up and put a bow on it just because we don't like the word used to describe it.
Thank you.
It wasn't an unlawful abduction. We are within our rights.
Don't act like we operate within laws, Magnus. The Council does whatever the hell it wants and no one questions it. And in this case, what it wanted was to abduct someone. So that's what we did.
Whoa. Okay, I didn't expect him of all people to make that argument.
Not just someone, an unregistered Esper. And you neglect to mention one thing, Caleb. Morgan chose to come here in the end. We didn't force her. Isn't that also right?
Fair enough. But my options were also limited at the time, and it isn't like you're letting me leave. Okay, are we back? We're back. Cool. What's happening? Not so bad here, okay. My throat tightened and I tried to swallow past the growing lump. I absolutely refused to cry in front of a room of people I barely knew. It's because she's all emotional this time. Alone in the shower, yes. In front of all these professionals, no. When my eyes started to sting in spite of my efforts, I jumped up and paced to the window. At the very least, they could stare at my back instead of at my face while I cried. I feel that. A small noise came from Caleb as he turned away from me, but I didn't look his way. Aw man, Caleb would so be the type of guy that's like, oh, I hate seeing a girl cry. Staring out at the beautiful city, I felt smaller than ever before.
You surely knew it would come to this.
His voice was very quiet, every word dropping in the otherwise silent room like a heavy stone.
We looked into your background, and I suspect you must have known you were an Esper.
I hastily wiped at my eyes before I turned around to face him. I hoped it wouldn't.
So you acknowledge you were aware that you were an Esper?
Should I not? It seems like you already know the answer anyway.
I don't know anything for sure. I simply have a theory.
Okay. I looked away, heart sinking. Had that incident really been my fault? I had no idea overgrowth could be caused by Espers. But that was just some incidents, right? It's not like he had proof that particular incident wasn't spontaneous. But if it was me... I mean, people died. Just like how that uncontrolled Cyverse had hurt people as well. If Magnus was trying to make a case that I was a danger to other people, I wasn't sure I could argue. Okay, there we go. Yeah, less argumentative this time, our Morgan, so far. What are we doing? We're not stubborn this time. So we can't be like, what was the question for here? Yeah, I remember him testing us. Oh yeah, would you have still hidden that you were an Esper? Right. So this time I need to do the analytical one. Thinking about ifs is pointless at this stage. I took a deep breath and met his gaze again. What's the point of answering this? Or asking in the first place? I don't mean to offend, but thinking about ifs is useless at this stage, isn't it?
If I thought it was pointless, I wouldn't ask.
with all due respect, that isn't the impression I've gotten so far. Caleb snorted softly when I said that. I sneaked a look at him, and there was a slight smirk on his face. In the end, I didn't know my rank, so I hid it successfully until a few days ago. And I'm here anyway. I still haven't had the bubble bath I wanted. I doubt I'll ever know my exam results.
Is there even a point to this meeting besides discussing what-ifs and things from 20 years ago? Morgan's here now, and she wants to know what's in store for her. What the hell is all this beating around the bush for? Magnus, if you wanted to bully her, you could have done it in the infirmary without involving the rest of us.
My intent wasn't to bully her.
Bullshit.
Well, I suppose that's enough depressing talk anyway. And you more or less answered how I expected you to anyway.
What the heck did that mean? Alright. Alone? For a moment, he was silent. Then he stood and came to join me by the window, gazing out across the cityscape before us. Okay, because she was sitting on the couch before, so now they're looking out the window. He leaned close to the window, his breath fogging the glass as he stared outside.
You don't have to look so frightened.
I'm not afraid of you.
I'm glad to hear it. You and I...
Is this... Okay, we're back. Isn't always that easy. It's not. But I guess it feels like it might get easier if I keep reminding myself it's necessary.
Does it really work that way for you?
Does it not work that way for you? For the first time, that smile on his face looked genuine, but also sad.
It would be nice if it did.
Magnus, stop, please. Stop it. Desist. I need to get away from that man again. There was time for Magnus to travel all the way to New Albion for a quick hello.
Magnus acted on his own. Outside the scope of everyone's plans, which was stupid. Not only would it have been dangerous for you both if they had caught him, but he could have thrown off the entire plan. He can be a little... reckless. More like idiotic. The point is... we can skip again.
Okay, am I doing emotional this time? No, analytical again. Okay, we did that before. We be skipping. What did I not say? Oh, pretty low expectations. I never said anything like that. It wasn't untrue, though, but I wasn't trying to pick a fight. Damn, harsh truths. Besides, you've already made it clear that you don't like me, so I don't know why my expectations of you matter.
You don't like me either, Leone. Don't pretend that isn't true.
I was trying to thank you. We walked several minutes without speaking. There was nothing but the sound of our footsteps and the slow trickle of water. Caleb was the first to speak.
Anyway, I guess it seemed important to you.
Okay, so we're back. Any affection this time? No, just an analytical thank you. I was silent a moment, closing my eyes against the beautiful scenery in front of me. I breathed deeply. The scent of flowers and moss was permeating everything. It felt like my head cleared a little then. Thank you. I know you were just following orders, but I appreciate the sentiment.
Well, no one ordered me to be an ass about the whole thing.
Did they order you to say you were sorry?
It's almost cute you think they care enough to do that.
They could be afraid it would impact our training or something.
I assure you it wouldn't occur to them. And it wouldn't matter much to them if it did. And it's not like they don't have methods for getting what they want.
I didn't quite hear what he muttered, but the tone was acidic, frustrated. It didn't seem aimed at me, though.
I don't want frustration about that day impeding training, but that's not why I'm apologizing. At the very least, you need to get those abilities under control for your own sake.
I only wish I could hold a grudge long enough for it to become a legitimate problem.
You mean you don't?
I don't have the energy to stay mad at someone such a long time.
Good to know.
Alright. Not yet.
Come on, I'll finish showing you around. There's a few more places you probably want to see.
Okay, and now we finish our tour. Martial arts training was tough because Caleb still wasn't willing to go easy on me. It was better than running laps, though, even if it was a bit repetitive. Okay. So training's a bit harder. We were gonna have an emotional reaction to him breaking into our flat this time, as we should. Excuse me? What are you doing in here?
Waiting for you. You didn't answer the door.
I didn't hear anyone at the door. Did you ring the bell? Knock?
Both. The latter, 4 separate times after I decided the chime must be broken.
Well, I was getting dressed, thank you. How did you even get in here?
After I got tired of trying to get your attention,
Broke in?
I didn't break in. I guessed your passcode.
That's called breaking in, Caleb. You can't just hack my password.
I didn't hack your password. I guessed it. On the first try. Might want to fix that.
You can't break into someone's room because they don't open the door. That's a crime.
Stop acting like I'm a criminal.
Let's examine that, shall we? First, you kidnapped me. Now you're breaking into my apartment. Sounds a lot like you have some issues following rules and societal norms to me.
I didn't break in. I guessed your password and the door opened.
Okay, you seem to be missing the point. There's this thing called privacy.
There's also a thing called answering the door when someone knocks so they don't think you're...
Think you're what? I didn't even hear you knocking.
I sent you 6 messages, and you didn't bother to respond to those either. You weren't anywhere else in the building, so I was just...
What?
worried! I don't have a clairvoyant sphere the size of the continent like Ari does, and I can't see through walls.
What did you think would happen to me in my apartment?
You act like people don't get hurt in their own homes all the time.
And how was I supposed to respond to your messages anyway? I still have almost no system access. I can message administrators only so I can send messages to my family. That's it! I didn't get your damn messages! Caleb's eyes narrowed, the frown deepening as he listened.
I thought you were ignoring me. Or lying knocked out in your shower after slipping on the soap or something.
Can't ignore messages I'm not even able to receive.
Those idiots. I wasn't aware your access was still so limited. I'll talk to someone and, at the very least, get internal messages to non-admin reinstated. It's ridiculous people on your own team can't contact you.
Wow. Something ridiculous happening here at Core Solaris. The center of logic, reason, and sensible reactions to everyday situations like having to wait for someone to invite you into their place before entering? What a surprise. And do I even want to know why you're coming to pick me up today instead of waiting downstairs like you usually do?
We have a meeting this morning. One you didn't even know about since you couldn't get the message about it. I'm glad I stopped by because we'll be late if we don't leave right now.
A meeting with who? About what? Caleb's intrusion into my apartment forgotten for the moment, I scrambled to get my shoes on. Oh my goodness, this entire interaction is so different from when we did it in the main route. It's crazy. Should I wear something more official? What kind of meeting is it?
Don't worry about attire. Magnus knows what our schedule is. If he wanted us to look pretty, he should have scheduled it for the afternoon.
Does Magnus usually expect you to look pretty at meetings, Caleb?
Just finish putting your shoes on so we can go.
Alright, I rolled my eyes and a few minutes later followed him into the hall. I also made a mental note to change my password when I got back.